All right, folks, thank you for bearing with me. I have no idea what happened. It just seemed my computer had it and decided it wasn't playing ball anymore. All right, so we are going to take just a brief break to give me a moment to reload my soundboard, because none of my clips were reloaded on, because I actually had to reboot my entire computer. The Adventures of Radio. Alright, so we are going to take that previously mentioned commercial break right now. And I will be right back with you.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Individuals and businesses.
Right. I promised you a short commercial break, and I think I held to that. Just had to have a minute to pull it back together, because I have no idea what just happened. Alright, we've had, as I discussed in the top of the show, which I'm going to have to patch together with the second half of the show, we have had world leaders dropping like flies. No clue why, but they've been dropping. And they've been dropping like crazy. And John Key, that we were talking about at the top of the show, he wasn't the only one. Can't tell you why. It's a personal decision, just like I think running for President of the United States is a personal decision. So, I couldn't tell you. Alright, we're going to get on. As you know, I don't normally cover news, especially not politics, but I made an exception with all these world leaders because, well, it wasn't U.S. politics, it's everywhere else politics. And now there's an interesting thing. There were several other interesting news stories. We are going to do a Mosul update. In fact, we're going to lead off with the Mosul update. Since I normally lead off the show with it, I'm going to lead off the second half of the show with it. And I'm going to let the audio clips kind of speak for themselves.
It's going pretty much down the path that we thought. It was always going to be a tough fight, and obviously there's always weather issues. It's always going to be a tough fight, and we're prepared for, as more importantly, the Iraqi security forces are prepared for any eventuality there. But none of this is unexpected.
The recapture will take place before January 20th.
I've always said I hope as soon as possible, but this is a war, so I'm not going to predict that. That's certainly possible, and but again, it's going to be a tough fight.
All right, and that was Secretary of Defense Ash Carter saying that Mosul could fall, or we could be retaken from Daesh's grip before Donald Trump is sworn into the Oval Office. Now, that's not the only Daesh news. And I'm kind of throwing it all into a bucket right now. Alright, I got one more audio clip. Let's take a listen to that while I find the right story.
Let me start in the Middle East, a region of great turbulence and confusion, but where we are not confused. We're clear about our pursuit of America's national interests, and among them is dealing ISIL the lasting defeat that it deserves and that it will certainly receive. We've reached a critical milestone in our counter-ISIL military campaign plan. As we meet here today in Simi Valley, American forces are engaged in an intense effort to isolate and collapse ISIL's control over Mosul in Iraq and Raqqa in Syria, bringing the great weight of our entire range of capabilities to bear in the enabling of capable and motivated local forces. The seizure of these two cities is necessary to ensure the destruction of ISIL's parent tumor in Iraq and Syria, the primary objective of our military campaign, and put ISIL on an irreversible path to lasting defeat.
All right, so you combine that with the fact that Ash Carter said we may retake Mosul before Donald Trump is sworn in. So I decided to go, what else is going on with Daesh that we are not paying attention to in this country because we are caught up with point 1, point 2, and point 3. Here's an article. It's from Press TV, aka Iranian News, folks. Iranian News. Take it for what it's worth. The spokesman for the pro-government forces made the announcement on Monday. Our forces have total control of Sirte. Our forces saw Daesh totally collapse. The spokesman also noted that the forces are now carrying out mob operations to clear the area of the Fakiri remnants. Meanwhile, a statement on the Loyalist Forces' official Facebook page confirmed the liberation of the terrorist group's ex-North African stronghold of Sirte. Sirte is in Libya, for those of you who don't have an atlas in front of you. Daesh took control of Sirte on the Mediterranean coast early last year and took advantage of political chaos in Libya to increase its presence in the country. Big surprise. Libyan forces have launched a military operation in May to retake the city. They managed to enter the city in June and since then have liberated a number of districts. Sirte's recapture will leave Daesh with no territory in Libya. I think Daesh, or ISIS or ISIL, is on its way out. Got another one here. Russian security forces on Sunday said they killed a leader of a branch of Daesh operating in the North Caucasus. Rustam Astrolarov, also known as Abu Muhammad, was one of 5 militants killed near Machakala, the capital of the Republic of Dagestan. And warning, folks, I probably butchered that name. Makhachkala. You give it a shot. RIA Novosti news agency reported the region is between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea within European Russia. Adosturlov, 35, was described as a ringleader of the provincial Daesh operations in a statement from the Federal Security Service, FSB, once known as the KGB. He is linked to 2 separate suicide bombings in the Russian city of Volgograd that killed more than 30 people in December 2013 and 2 car bomb attacks in Dagestan in May 2012 that killed 14 and injured at least 120. He was fighting for a different militant group that switched his allegiance to Daesh leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in December 2014. Security forces approached a residence where the militants were hiding. The militants fired automatic weapons and government forces fired back. The FSB said security personnel found automatic weapons and a large amount of ammunition and explosives at the property. Russia had offered nearly $78,000 reward in October for information on his whereabouts. The United States declared Adolosov a foreign terrorist fighter in September 2015 after Daesh appointed him leader of the region. Militants from the region, which lies immediately east of the Republic of Chechnya, have traveled to join Daesh fighters in Iraq and Syria. I think Daesh may be on its way out. Here's another story about CERT. Let me see if there's anything different. There's still a few fighters they've got to do cleanup. The big question is, how many Daesh fighters have fled to other parts of Libya? And that I do believe. Alright, I've got one more Iranian news story. It's from presstv.ir for those of you keeping score. Iran expects to sell its crude oil at around $50 per barrel over the next Iranian calendar year that starts on March 21st. The figure shows a rise of 25% compared to the budget for the current Iranian calendar, March 2016 to 2017, during which Iran had anticipated its budget bill to set oil at $40 per barrel. A draft version of the country's budget bill for next year envisages income of over 1.1 quadrillion reals from selling 2.42 million barrels per day of crude oil at $50 each. The figure will be equal to around 33 billion with an exchange rate of 33,000 reals for each U.S. dollar. Rouhani emphasized that the prospects will be specifically positive in light of the country's recent victory in OPEC to move ahead with its crude oil production and export plans with no limitations. Iran has already been able to regain its share of the global oil market, he told parliamentarians. Thanks to the recent victory in OPEC, we will literally face no limitations, increasing the production and export of our crude oil over the next few months. The OPEC talks over a proposed plan to cut output and help boost prices last Wednesday culminated in a deal that allowed Iran to continue with its oil production at the current capacity while forcing major cuts on other suppliers. Libya and Nigeria were also excluded from the plan that had been proposed by Saudi Arabia. Iran was able to score a major victory in the area of oil diplomacy, Rouhani emphasized in a speech at Parliament. OPEC's deal authorized Iran to boost its output by 90,000 barrels per day. The only such authorization agreed on by the organization member states. My comment here: what's Saudi Arabia getting from Iran? What did they get? Saudi wants a high oil price. Why would they agree to let OPEC? Why would OPEC agree just to go, yeah, take what you want, do what you want? That doesn't make sense, folks. It just doesn't make any sense. Moscow slams West for staying silent on Russian hospital bombing. The Russian Foreign Ministry has criticized Western leaders after none appeared to condemn the shelling of a mobile Russian hospital by militants in Syria. 2 Russian medics were killed after a dozen shells hit the facility in Aleppo. Now, I think I have a clip on that. That's not the clip. I just noticed that is not the clip. I'm going to take 2 shots at finding it, and if I don't find it, we're just moving on. Alright, we're just moving on. I do have a State Department clip on Syria. I'm probably not going to play all of it.
No, you were going to do Syria, and then I'll do Syria. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the Russian government said today that they would start talks with Washington on a rebel withdrawal from eastern Aleppo, or from Aleppo this week. Do you have anything on
that? I've seen those comments. We don't have anything to confirm at this point. Obviously, we're very seized with the situation, the very dire situation in Aleppo. There was some discussion coming out of the meeting in Rome on Friday that there would be technical talks taking place this week, but we don't have anything to confirm at this point.
Could you talk
about? Of course. Follow up, you and then you. I promise. Don't give me a look.
On the technical talks, can you just characterize what those specifically would be concerning, and what aspect would it be on the idea of withdrawal?
All right, that's enough about that. Basically, we're still trying to discuss Aleppo and Syria with the Russians. Let's see just one more.
It's difficult to do, obviously, given the fighting and given our lack of access to what's happening on the ground. But to answer your question, of course, we condemn any attack on a hospital or healthcare facility.
Would you actually have a few more? Sorry.
Okay, 2 more.
The U.S. is known to have influence with some of the rebel groups. What is your message to them? Should they continue the shelling?
The shelling of I think I just was very clear about. We would condemn any shelling by anybody, opposition rebels or regime forces, what have you, on healthcare, hospitals, schools, civilian infrastructure, any of that. And we've been, I would hope we've been very consistent publicly as well as privately in conveying that message. Go ahead.
So this is happening.
All right, so the U.S. does condemn the attacks, but evidently they didn't step up fast enough for Russia. And I can kind of see that, but come on, we always condemn attacks on hospitals. Really? I am probably going to close out my show with these last 2 stories. The arrest of a 17-year-old Afghan refugee suspected of raping and killing a young German medical student turned into a political maelstrom Monday, with opponents pointing to Chancellor Angela Merkel's decision last year to welcome more than 1 million migrants into the country. Vice Chancellor Sigmar Gabriel tried to calm the brewing storm by insisting it was unfair to blame all refugees from Afghanistan, Syria, and Iraq for a single criminal act. But the fallout from the slaying of 19-year-old Maria Laudenberger nonetheless left the government on the defensive. So, Germany, who let in more than 1 million migrants last year, even they are turning somewhat anti-immigrant. Merkel, who recently announced plans to run for a fourth term, i.e., Merkel's not one of the heads of state jumping ship, has seen her popularity plunge in the last year, in part due to her staunch refusal to accept demands from her party's right wing to limit migrants entering the country to 200,000 per year. She did not comment on the slaying in Freiburg and has remained determined to keep Germany open to refugees. She drew criticism from her party for shaking hands with a number of young refugees from Afghanistan and elsewhere at regional party meetings in recent weeks. Her spokesman, Stefan Siebert, told reporters the assailant must be punished with the full force of the law, but we shouldn't forget that we're talking about the possible act of one Afghan refugee, not an entire group of Afghanis or refugees. Alright, I've got one more, and this one is too good to pass up, even though it is more of a U.S. story. Washington says a fake U.S. embassy run by organized criminal gangs has been shut down in Ghana's capital, Accra, following almost 10 years of issuing authentic but fraudulently obtained visas and counterfeit identification documents. According to the statement released by the United States Department of State late on Friday, the sham embassy was operated by figures from both Ghanaian and Turkish organized crime rings, along with a Ghanaian lawyer specializing in immigration and criminal law. The statement added that the fake diplomatic mission with the rundown pink two-story building was raided by Ghana's security forces in the summer after the real embassy in the capital received a tip-off from an informant about the matter. Several suspects were arrested, including Turkish citizens, who played the role of consular officers at the building, and who spoke English and Dutch. Authorities also seized legitimate and counterfeit U.S., Indian, South African, and Schengen zone visas and 150 passports from 10 different countries, a laptop, a number of smartphones, and counterfeit identity documents. The criminals, according to the statement, managed to run the fake embassy unhindered during the past decade by bribing corrupt officials as well as obtaining obtaining blank bank documents to be doctored. The crime ring provided prearranged customers with authentic but illegally obtained U.S. visas and fabricated identification documents, including birth certificates, at a cost of $6,000 each. In an attempt to make the sham embassy look real, the criminals had also raised an American flag outside the building, and inside they had hung a photo of U.S. President Barack Obama. They had also placed signs indicating the applicants were in the U.S. Embassy in Ghana. The statement also revealed that further investigations led to uncovering a fake Dutch embassy. The visa market is a tempting target for organized crime in Africa, as visas for Western countries are in high demand. Alright, I got some audio clips. Some of these are great.
It's been revealed that a fake U.S. embassy was shut down in Ghana. It apparently operated for 10 years.
Don't say it like that.
Yes. How long... When did the State Department become aware of this is one question. And the other is this embassy, so-called embassy, had access to blank forms that were deemed authentic, issued visas. And so how many people got into the United States from these visas?
All good questions. All right, there's a lot to unpack here. I'll do my best and then answer any follow-ups. So... yes, the quote-unquote fake embassy. This was a criminal fraud operation masquerading as a fake U.S. embassy in Ghana, in Accra, and it was shut down, as you know. No visa obtained, no fake visa, and let's be very clear, we're talking about counterfeit visas. That no visa that was obtained through this fraud scheme was ever used to enter the United States. What happened was that the operators of this fraud operation, were able to obtain real Ghanaian passports or even foreign passports that were either lost, stolen, or somehow sold to them. A handful, and I think it was fewer than 10, of the passports seized by law enforcement contained expired U.S. visas. So they then used these expired visas to counterfeit off of, as prototypes or whatever, as models to attempt to produce counterfeit visas. So the visas in question were not stolen from the U.S. Embassy.
I gotta love it when he stumbles and ahs his way to a statement. And that was from today's State Department press briefing, by the way. All right, I got another audio clip.
So the visas in question were not stolen from the U.S. Embassy. Again, this operation, this fake embassy, made and printed counterfeit visas using the expired visas as a blueprint. So none of the individuals, as I said, who purchased these counterfeit visas were able to use them to travel to the United States. And why is that? Because it's very, very hard to counterfeit U.S. visas these days. It's a highly secure document. It's got numerous security features designed to prevent successful counterfeiting. And so this operation failed basically because they couldn't produce.
Were people nabbed coming into JFK or somewhere? Did actually anybody try to use?
My understanding is that no, is that no one was actually even attempted or caught at the border. Now we're still going through some assessment of this operation, but my understanding at this point is that no one was actually stopped at the border trying to enter into the United States using one of these fraudulent visas. My understanding is that, frankly, the counterfeit visas were a pretty poor quality. So it may have been the fact that these people, once they paid for them and got them, realized they weren't going to be able to use them to get into the United States.
And to the Ghanaian officials' attention, or they shut it down?
I believe it's that we learned about it and brought it to the Ghanaian authorities' attention.
Can you just answer this?
Yeah.
You don't believe that anyone ever tried to use any of these? That these people who didn't have the perceptive qualities to realize they were walking into a fake U.S. embassy and then pay that fake U.S. embassy, then were able to discern on their own that the visas didn't look good enough, and so they decided not to try. That just seems so wholly unrealistic. It cannot be possible in this universe to be true on a universal level. That nobody tried. All these people who went to a fake U.S. embassy then realized, based on the quality of the visa, that it wouldn't work and just gave up. Mark, that doesn't pass the laugh test. Well, seriously.
No, look. So first of all, many of the people who engaged in this activity, I'm not talking about the people who ran the operation, but the people who tried to obtain visas, it was, they were duped. They were conned. Once they were conned, you don't necessarily go running to the police and say, I just obtained illegally a U.S. visa, and, oh, by the way, it looks terrible, doesn't it? I can't use this to get in the United States. Again, I didn't say categorically that no one did it. I thought I said, to our knowledge, as of today, we do not believe that anyone actually used or was stopped at the border trying to use one of these fake visas to enter in the United States. I can't speak to, what their motivation was.
All right. It doesn't pass the laugh test for me either. I think some of these people with these fake visas got in. I am out of time, and on that note, I'm out of here!